What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So we're taking a look at Starfield here on the Steam Deck with Windows 11, and I haven't done Windows on the deck in a while here on the channel, but a lot of you guys have asked me to do a video checking this out, so I figured I'd jump in and do it. Now, visual quality, much like on the Steam Deck and the ROG Ally, isn't too bad. I won't say it's quite as good though. You can get rid of the screen tearing by enabling VSync, but I will have that off for this video, which is why you'll see that, and performance unfortunately is lacking, but let's go ahead and get into it and talk about that here. Now, we are running the Game Pass version. I've also tried the Steam version and I've gotten the same performance, so I've opted to go with this because most of you asking about this is because of Game Pass. And so we'll go in here, and as far as my settings, same as I had on the deck, 720p on here, dynamic resolution, low settings, motion blur off, FSF2 on with 50% sharpening, VRS is on, and no depth of field. And again, VSync is off, so you'll see tearing in this video, but you can get rid of that with VSync on. It looks much better on the deck screen. But as we get into it here, you can play in first person or third person with two different views. Sometimes this affects your FPS 1 or 2 or 3 depending on where you're at, but I did notice it had a little bit less effect here on Windows than on SteamOS or on the ROG Ally, just due to the fact that we aren't able to run the game as well here. Now, inside the buildings versus outside, we do get a little bit better performance, but it's not near the bump that we've seen on the other devices. And really the thing is, even though I'm still running the same 4 gigabytes of VRAM here with the same setup on the Steam Deck, Windows, even though it was running some games better than SteamOS for quite a while, that was back when Steam had given us the March update for the GPU, and for a while things were working better, and they've put out an update for SteamOS to keep Starfield running on the Steam Deck, and we still don't have any updates for a GPU driver for Windows when it comes to the deck from Valve. Unfortunately, March is still the newest driver that we have to work with, and that's beginning to show, and it has been the past couple months in newer titles, and that's why I haven't been covering them as much, because performance has been suffering a lot more than it used to when it comes to some of these titles. There's definitely room for improvement when it comes to Windows performance for Starfield, but I do believe we need those Windows updates. But anyways, strolling around here, New Atlantis, where performance always tanks, and so do other cities. We'll definitely be getting into more testing in the future, but wanted to jump in here where I have tested SteamOS and the ROG Ally, and of course, performance definitely is much lower, even compared to the SteamOS here. They both did run down in the 20s, but we do get a little bit worse performance here. And again, even though I kind of harp on this video, a lot of it I do believe is coming down to driver support for these newer titles for Windows on the deck. It's just difficult, and I tried a lot of tricks and everything I know to do here on the deck and with Windows to try to boost performance and get the most out of it that I could, and I just couldn't get it to run any better. Even out here in space, where we would typically get like a little bit better performance, and it would maybe not be as good as inside space stations and buildings, but it would be a little higher, and it just never really was able to get up there out here. Even whether I'm in combat or whether I'm in an area of a planet that's like desolate or not busy or whatever the case, I pretty much would go from like 24, 25 FPS, maybe max out around 35, 34 FPS out in space, which I did kind of think we could push a little bit better out here, but that just kind of is what it is. And jumping around to some different planet areas and the moon and stuff like that, looking at performance to see if there's any major differences, just like I did before, there wasn't really. I mean, these kind of desolate areas where I'm landing at are around 30 FPS depending on the view and what's happening. We may dip down lower, especially as there's ships landing or bases around or things like that, but for the most part, as I would hop around, the performance was basically consistent, which again, I think there's just a lot of room for improvement. Jumping into the lodge, everything looks pretty clean, just like it did on the other systems. Character models look good, it runs decent here, frame times are a little better, and feels pretty smooth, so all in all, not so bad, but you're not going to spend a ton of time walking around here, but it did run decently. On your ship, performance really varies in the 20s up into the 30s or 40s, depending on where you're at, what planet, because it's still rendering things outside. So it's just gonna kind of depend on where you're at when you're in your ship. But anyways, guys, I'm going to kind of leave it there. I don't want to go too crazy with this video like I did on the other platforms or on SteamOS, because performance is just pretty rough, and I wasn't able to squeeze any more out of it yet. I do hope to see patches and fixes to the game itself that might help, but also I'd love to see an updated GPU driver from Valve, even though they might not have a lot of incentive to do so. Let me know if you've gotten this game to run even better for you on the Steam Deck. Is Windows 10 running better? I haven't tried that. This is all for Windows 11 or anything like that. Let me know your guys' experience if you've tried this out on Windows on the Steam Deck. Alright guys, thanks a lot for coming and check out the video. As always, I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.